My wife told everyone I was abusive so she could get sole custody. She whispered in court, "You'll never see your kids again." I stayed silent, built my case, and waited. 2 years later, with footage, emails, and her boyfriend's testimony, the judge looked at her and said, "Custody is revoked." I held my kids as she was escorted out screaming. I'll never forget that day in court, sitting there like I was already convicted of something I hadn't done. My name's Eric. I'm 42. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I used to think I had a decent life. Married 12 years. 2 kids, Ethan's 9, Ava's 7. We had a house in a good neighborhood, nothing fancy, but it was ours. I worked in IT, did okay. Jessica, my wife, well, ex-wife now, she worked part-time at a dental office. We were a normal family. Or so I thought. I guess the first cracks showed up about 3 years ago. Jessica started pulling away. She wasn't around as much. Started going out more with the girls, or so she said. She'd come home late, smelling like drinks and perfume. I asked her about it, she'd blow me off, say I was being controlling, that I needed to trust her more. At first, I believed her. I wanted to believe her. But then there were the little comments. Stuff like, "You're lucky I even stay with you." Or, "You'd be lost without me." I didn't think much of it. We all get in fights. Then it escalated. I came home early from work one day. It was a Friday. I walked in the door, and I heard her in the kitchen, on the phone. I remember standing in the hallway, holding my keys frozen. She was laughing. Then I heard her say, "He has no clue. I'll tell them he hit me. They'll believe me over him. He's so easy to play." I felt my stomach drop. I pushed the door open, and she froze. She hung up fast. Told me it was a wrong number. That I was paranoid. I wanted to believe her, but something deep down told me I couldn't. 2 weeks later, I got served with divorce papers. And not just that, she filed a temporary restraining order, claiming I was physically abusive to her and the kids. The paperwork said I'd slapped her across the face and threatened the kids. That I had a history of violent behavior. I felt like I couldn't breathe. When I tried to explain to friends, to family, I could see it in their eyes, like they weren't sure who to believe. My own parents looked at me like they were questioning everything. My sister flat out told me, "Eric, you need help." The school got involved too. I had to meet with some lady from CPS. She asked if I'd ever lost my temper or gotten physical. I told her no, never. But it didn't matter. They believed Jessica. Then came the hearing. That day is burned into my brain. Jessica showed up in this gray dress, hair done up like she was going to a gala. She acted so calm, like she knew the outcome already. When the judge read the temporary custody order, sole custody to Jessica, supervised visits for me, she leaned over as they were shuffling papers and whispered in my ear, "You'll never see your kids again." I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Just sat there, staring at the floor, while my lawyer whispered, "We'll appeal, stay calm." Calm. That's all I had. So I stayed calm. I nodded, went along with everything. I didn't fight in court that day. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her of anything, even though I wanted to scream. But inside? I was boiling. I spent the next 2 years documenting everything. Every time she sent me a nasty text. Every time she bad-mouthed me to the kids. Every time I showed up for my supervised visits, and she acted like she was the victim. I wore a body cam. I recorded phone calls when I could. I learned how to be careful. The kids would tell me things too. Ethan once said, "Mommy says you don't love us." Ava told me, "Mommy says you're dangerous." It broke me. But I just hugged them and told them I loved them. Then the big break came. My buddy Mark, he bartends at this spot downtown. He called me one night, said Jessica was in there all the time with some guy. They'd get drunk, make out in front of everyone, and she'd brag about how she had me. wrapped around her finger. I didn't care she was seeing someone else. But then Mark told me the guy, Sean, was talking about how Jessica had asked him to lie for her in court if anything ever came up. That was the crack I needed. I asked Mark to introduce me. I met Sean a week later, played it cool. Bought him a few beers. He opened up fast. Told me Jessica had been telling him how she made up the abuse stuff. Because it was the only way to keep the kids. I couldn't believe it. My heart was racing the whole time. I asked Sean if he'd be willing to talk. He said yes. Said he felt used too. Jessica had been stringing him along, promising they'd move in together, then ghosting him whenever it suited her. He handed over text messages, emails. There was one email from her that said, "You're going to help me keep the kids, right? Just say Eric was violent. They'll believe you." I almost threw up when I read it. I took all of it to my lawyer. We put together a motion to reopen the custody case. It took 6 more months to get on the docket. 6 months of waiting, watching Jessica post photos with the kids on Facebook, smiling like she'd won the war. 6 months of sitting in silence while people around me whispered behind my back. Then the court date finally came. Jessica walked in wearing that same smug smile, like she knew the judge would just rubber stamp everything. I sat there quietly, my file in front of me. When it was my turn, I stood up and handed over everything: videos, audio, texts, Sean's affidavit. The whole stack. Jessica's face when she saw the papers, she looked like someone had punched her in the stomach. She started shaking her head, saying, No, this isn't true, he's making it up." But the judge didn't look at her. He read through everything in silence. The room was dead still. Then he said flat out, "Your custody is revoked." That's when Jessica lost it. She started yelling, "This is a setup! He's lying! They're all lying!" Security had to come in and pull her out. She was screaming, "You can't do this! I'm their mother!" over and over. The kids were sitting in the back with a court-appointed supervisor. When the judge called for them to come to me, they ran down the aisle like they'd been waiting for that moment forever. I held them both, and I cried. I didn't even care that people were watching. Jessica's screams faded as they dragged her out. And that was the moment I knew, staying silent, waiting, building my case, it was worth every second. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to fight dirty. I just needed to be patient. After that court day, I thought it was finally over. Thought I could breathe again. But I was wrong. Jessica wasn't done. 2 weeks after the hearing, I got a letter from her lawyer. She was appealing the decision. She claimed I had manipulated the court, that I had coerced Sean into lying, and that I was emotionally unstable. Her lawyer even tried to say the kids were afraid of me because I pressured them into testifying against her. It felt like I was drowning all over again. My lawyer told me to stay calm, but I could tell even he was shaken. He said appeals like this usually go nowhere, but the court was obligated to review it. That meant more waiting, more legal fees, more stress. Jessica didn't stop there. She started showing up at Ethan's soccer games. I wasn't there at first, but the coach called me and said she was causing a scene, yelling at other parents, telling them I was dangerous, and that the court got it wrong. I showed up the next week, and sure enough, there she was, standing on the sidelines like nothing had happened. The moment she saw me, she stormed over, pointing in my face, screaming, "You're a liar! You ruined my life!" I told her to leave. She refused. Security had to be called. The kids saw everything. Ethan was crying. Ava was holding my hand so tight I thought she'd cut off my circulation. I got a restraining order filed after that, but it didn't matter. She kept popping up, at the grocery store, at the park, even once outside my work. She'd stand there, watching me, with this sick smile on her face. Then it got worse. Jessica's sister, Amber, started reaching out to my family. Amber had always been close to Jessica, so I was shocked when she texted me out of the blue. She said she wanted to clear the air. That she knew Jessica was lying, but had been too scared to speak up. Amber told me Jessica had been planning the whole thing for years. That she'd started making backup files, emails, fake photos, even a journal where she documented fake abuse stories to use in court. Amber said Jessica had told her once, "If Eric ever tries to leave, I'll ruin him. I'll take the kids, the house, everything. He'll wish he was dead." That one hit me like a truck. Amber said she was finally ready to testify, said she'd turn over the fake journal entries Jessica had shown her. She sent me a screenshot of a text from Jessica that said, "Don't forget what we talked about. If anyone asks, Eric was violent, okay?" It was more than I ever expected. But it wasn't over yet. About a month later, my lawyer called me, voice tight. He told me Jessica had filed a police report against me. Claimed I had threatened her life during a chance encounter at the grocery store. Said I had cornered her by the dairy section and told her she'd never see her kids again. I was speechless. I hadn't even seen her that day. I was at work, had clocked in on the company system. Luckily, my boss backed me up. But for a few hours I thought I was going to jail. That's when I realized Jessica wasn't going to stop until she destroyed me. I called Sean and Amber. We met in person, sat down, and laid everything out, every message, every email, every fake claim. We decided to go to the DA. It wasn't easy. The DA didn't exactly jump at the chance to prosecute Jessica, but when we showed them the texts, the emails, the fake journals, and the false police report, they agreed to open an investigation into filing a false report and perjury. I couldn't believe it was finally happening. But Jessica? She fought harder. She went on social media, posted this long rant about how I had manipulated the system, how I was a mastermind abuser who had tricked the court, and how the patriarchy was helping me steal her kids. People ate it up. I started getting messages from strangers, calling me a monster, telling me I deserved to lose everything. It felt like I was fighting a war on all fronts, against Jessica, against public opinion, against the system itself. I started documenting even more. I set up cameras at home. I saved every message. I stopped using social media completely. Then one day, I got an email from someone I didn't know. It was from a woman named Rachel. She said she was Sean's ex-girlfriend, and she had a story to tell me. She said Jessica had been dating Sean and another guy at the same time. That she had a pattern of using men, lying to them, manipulating them into doing what she wanted, then turning on them when it suited her. Rachel said Jessica had done the same thing to Sean, promised they'd be together, told him lies about me, told him she needed his help to keep her kids safe, and that he'd be their stepdad soon. Rachel sent me screenshots, texts from Jessica saying, "If you don't help me, I'll say you hit me too." It was all falling into place. Jessica wasn't just lying about me. She was lying to everyone. The more I uncovered, the more I realized just how deep the web of lies went. And the worst part? I still didn't have full custody yet. The final hearing was still months away. Every day, I lived in fear she'd find a way to twist the system again. Every day, I wondered what new accusation would come next. But I kept going. I kept building. Because I knew the fight wasn't over. Not yet. The final hearing came faster than I expected. I thought I'd be ready, but that morning, sitting in the hallway outside the courtroom, I felt like I was going to throw up. My hands were shaking. My stomach was tight. Jessica walked in late, wearing all black, like she was going to a funeral. She looked at me with this cold, dead stare, like she could kill me with her eyes. But there was something else there too, panic. She knew. Her lawyer came over to my side before we even started. He looked exhausted, like he'd been through hell too. He pulled my lawyer aside and whispered something. My lawyer nodded. Then we sat down. The judge walked in. The whole room got quiet. Jessica's lawyer stood up and tried to make some speech about how the court had been manipulated by a coordinated effort to slander Ms. Bennett. I almost laughed. The judge cut him off fast, said the evidence spoke for itself. Then my lawyer stood up and laid it all out, again. The texts. The fake journals. The recordings. The video of Jessica harassing me at Ethan's game. The false police report. Amber's testimony. Sean's testimony. Rachel's screenshots. It was a mountain. Then the DA's investigator took the stand. They confirmed Jessica was being charged with perjury, filing false reports, and obstruction. That's when it hit me, this was really happening. Jessica looked like she was going to vomit. When the judge asked her if she wanted to respond, she tried to spin it. Said I brainwashed everyone. That I coached the kids. But her voice was cracking. She was falling apart. Then Ethan stood up. My son. 9 years old. He walked up to the judge and said, My mom told me to lie about my dad. She said if I didn't, I wouldn't get to see him anymore. The whole courtroom went silent. Jessica started sobbing, begging the judge not to listen. She tried to run over to Ethan, but security held her back. She screamed, You're poisoning my kids! You're turning them against me! The judge looked her dead in the eyes and said, You have shown a clear and ongoing pattern of manipulation, dishonesty, and emotional abuse. Custody is revoked, effective immediately. Jessica lost it. She started kicking the bench, screaming at the top of her lungs. Security had to drag her out while she yelled, You'll pay for this. You'll all pay. When the door slammed shut behind her, the silence in the room felt like a relief I didn't even know I needed. I was granted full legal and physical custody. But it didn't stop there. Jessica was arrested that afternoon for perjury and obstruction. She spent 2 nights in jail. The DA offered her a deal, plead guilty to a lesser charge and avoid jail time. But she'd have a felony on her record and no unsupervised contact with the kids for at least 5 years. She tried to fight it, but with all the evidence, she had no choice. She took the deal. And then came the fallout. Her boyfriend Sean went public. He posted everything online, texts, emails, screenshots. The story blew up. Local news ran a piece on it. Jessica's mugshot was on TV. The comments were brutal. People who had believed her started apologizing to me. Her boss at the dental office fired her. Her family cut her off. Amber refused to speak to her ever again. Jessica lost everything. The last time I saw her was at a court-mandated visitation, supervised by CPS. She looked like a shell of who she used to be, hollow, angry, bitter. She tried to hug the kids, but they pulled away. That hurt, I won't lie. I had spent so much time focusing on winning, on proving the truth, that I didn't stop to think about what it was doing to the kids. Ethan had nightmares for months. Ava stopped talking for a while. I wasn't innocent in all this either. I had to sit down with them, tell them I was sorry. That I should have fought harder for them sooner. That I shouldn't have let things go on as long as they did. That even though I thought I was protecting them by staying calm, by waiting, I still let them get hurt. They cried. I cried. We're still healing. It's not perfect. But it's real. We go to therapy now. I take them to soccer games, dance recitals, whatever they want. I let them talk about their mom when they need to. I don't badmouth her. I let the facts speak for themselves. Jessica lives in a 1-bedroom apartment across town now. She still sends me nasty emails sometimes, but I don't respond. The kids see her once a month, supervised by CPS. They don't seem to care much anymore. As for me, I'm just trying to be the dad they deserve. Because after everything, all the lies, all the fights, all the waiting, holding them in that courtroom, knowing they were safe, that was worth it. That was the day I finally got my kids back. And no one is taking them away from me again.